Hey guys, welcome back. We are now in part 3 of the Paragon tutorials. My name is Limmy, and today we're going to go over the character modules. A couple notes you're going to want to remember for this video is you need to have done at least the first or second tutorial, because first you need to have Paragon set up, which is what you see here today. And the second thing you need to have ready is to understand the basics of making classes. The previous videos are in the playlist of the tutorials, and if it's not there, I'll have them in my Discord or in the Game Banana tutorials whenever those are up on Game Banana. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and get started today with getting these characters created. So characters carry a lot of aspects to the base stuff. So for example, the character module carries the personals, the portraits, it keeps everything connected all into one character. Think of it as in a way, it is the main thing that actually shows the player that the character exists with their unique aspects. So they're not just generic soldiers, generic characters, and their stats are also unique to them. Alright? So, to go to the characters, we're going to click on the character section. From there, we're going to scroll down and we're going to make a new one, just like how we make our classes. We're going to go over what is on the screen here, okay? So from top to bottom, PID is similar to how we do IIDs and JIDs. These are the unique IDs. So to make an ID, you type PID, and I'm going to type tutorial. Alright? Next is the same thing when you name them, so MPID. Tutorial, and the visual, what the people will see, tutorial. That's the name of this character. Now the description, it's the same case. MPIDH, tutorial. I am a tutorial character. So, to go over this again, PID at the very top is that unique ID, similar to how items and characters are made. So like here in items, the Neoblade is IID Neoblade. Or for classes, it's the same case for a Rockstar. JID, Mercdi, that's a unique ID. Same format, just like the other tutorials. Alright? Next is the army choice. This doesn't really matter very much, it's just the icon at the bottom of the 3DS screen, showing what faction they're playing for. In my case, it doesn't really matter too much, so we'll put him as the army. Same thing here with the parent. The parent is a correspondent of who is this person's father. In Fates, all the kids have fathers, besides Shigure coming from Azura. So, in technicality, it's more of just who is the birth parent that it's connected to. So, Shigure is Azura, Kana is for Korin, Asugi is for, not Kaze, but I don't know why I forgot his name for a second. Saizo, there we go. And it will always say it here at this section. Since this person is not going to be under someone that is an existing character, we'll just do it as the next one over, which is PID, and then it's this one, okay? Birthday is the corresponding date in real life. So, if you want to make this person's birthday on 25th, of December, on the 25th of December, the game will celebrate his birthday. Alright? So, what's next? Next, we're going to give him the classes. We'll first start with the left side. Class 1 is the class they'll show up in. Class 1 is going to be the first class that that they will show up in, and it's their base class and everything like that, alright? Second class is the promotion. In most cases, I would have a promotion, but we're using the made-up one that we did for the tutorial. But, you guys can take a look here real quick as an example. Here's Takumi. As everyone knows, in all paths, Takumi starts as an archer. When he's given the Master Seal, he can switch, and he can go into a sniper. That's usually what they do with the second class at the bottom. But if you look at somebody like a Ryoma already starts as advanced, so his previous class was the samurai. If you get the pattern, you understand basically that the primary class is the class they show up in, and the second one is either their promotion or their demotion, which in Ryoma's case is demotion. Now for the reclass, these are just the alternative options for the characters. Reclass allows them to, whenever they use a certain seal, I forgot the name at this moment, I might as well just look it up real quick. But if you use a certain seal, and I'm just messing this up, I believe it's the heart seal. Yep, personality. Cool. Based on the personality, the heart seal allows them to will allow them to switch these classes. So in this case here, reclass 1 and 2 for Hana, she can reclass to a Shrine Maiden, which personally doesn't make any sense for her background, but you know, it's just what they think logic would work it here. So reclasses are their hard seal options. So if you don't want them to be their main class, this is what they're going to switch to. Alright? So for this character, we're not going to give him anything special. We're just going to use the basic JID stuff, which is right here at the first options. Alright? No promotion, no nothing. Alright. Next, we'll look at the IDs. More ID stuff. So this ID here should always be one number below the main ID here. Same thing with here. Below that, alright? The reason is the game keeps it in order, so we don't have any problems with IDs. Cool? Next, FIDs. FID is the portrait link. So we're going to call this FID tutorial. And the next one is AIDs. AIDs are the model links. So just like how in classes, the JID is what connects the assets in ROM 2. In ROM 3, AID is what connects it. We will go over this after we finish the character module. Parent and child ID is the same case, again, with parent up here. So let's say Nick, not Nick, sorry. Jacob is parent ID OX4. So Dwyer has a child ID of OX3 and parent ID of OX33. There's a whole math that has to deal with this, which I honestly don't really know yet, if I'm being honest. So I'll leave that alone for now until I really understand how to do it. All right. Replacing only matters if you're doing handovers, and that'll be done in a different tutorial. Next box. Miscellaneous and unknown. The enemy flag can be changed between technically 3 numbers, but it's actually no, 4 numbers, but it'd be 3. 0, 1, and 2. So normally, or actually it would be 3 then, huh? And 3 as well. So normally, as you see in the character modules, they're affected by enemy flag number 1. These are how they're done statistically with math. 1 is player base growths, 2 is enemy growths, 3 is nobody touches it at all. Besides what you put as raw data. So in my case, we're just going to keep this simple and give him 1. Next is a recruited and a special shop item. So these 2 items are for amiibos. As you can tell here with Marth, Ike, Lucina, and Robin, that they are shop items. The shop items that they basically come with. So the first item is what they are recruited with. The second item is what they are available in the shop. So you can buy them, and they're basically weaker versions of their main weapon since they can't unequip it. Next is the body type. It doesn't really matter that much, but just remember that you want to keep it normally at what you think they're going to look like in game. So normal is fine. Alright, in the next tab is the stats table. If you're a Fire Emblem player and you're aware of how everything works, or if you understand how Fate's system works, the bases are the bases, as in the base numbers of their stats. What will be affected by their growths. Growths are done by percentages. So 5% chance or 50% chance, it's all done by these numbers here. Remember that this number is combined with the class number to get the full growth number. So if we had a 50% growth here and a 50% growth in Rockstar, that means we have a 100% chance of growth in that stat. Modifiers. Modifiers are the ending number that adds to the stat. So let's say you have a cap of 40 HP. The modifier allows you to add, well, in this case it was 12, but 2 more to that number if you have a modifier there. But if you have a negative modifier, it subtracts the 2 from that section. So if you have 40 HP, it takes out 2 HP. Back down to 38. If I just want to double check something here real quick, yep. So penalties don't have anything here. They're not, and also bonuses. They're only here for AI if you do something with characters that are enemy specific only. So really up to you on how you decide to do so. But normally that's determined on the, the chapter screen when you make character chapters, which we will talk about later on. All right. We'll talk about skills next. The skills are what they will start with. The same thing with personal skills. So as you know, Corrin has one personal skill here. I'll just show you for an example. It's supportive, and they always start with nobility. This is how they start whenever they show up. Those are the skills they will have. So you can pick any skill you like and have them available for certain difficulties. So let's say if you were doing something harder, you would let them have a second skill on these specific difficulties. Now, time to do something more different here, which with the level data. Level data is exactly as it sounds and reads. This is the level they will show up in, which only really affects the XP gain and loss. Internal level, you always want to keep at -1 because it has to do with mathematics, and I just recommend you keeping it level to -1. Make it simple. Level caps are basically internal eternal seals, and it sounds confusing, but if you know what an eternal seal does, it gives you 5 more levels to your class, so your level cap is increased. So for example, if I have a level 40 maid, 1 level cap would give me 5 more levels, so her final level would be 45. Then 2 would be 50, 3 would be 55, and so on. Okay? We're not going to have any level caps. He will have the default 40 because his class does not have a promotion. I'll explain that later. Unknowns, I don't know much about. Don't ask me. We'll figure it out at some point. Alright. Sword, weapon ranks, all this stuff here. Pretty self-explanatory. If you go to the menu here on Paragon and click on weapon ranks, this is what the weapon ranks are. You can determine how much they have starting here within here. So if I wanted this character to have an S rank sword weapon ability right out the gate, 251 is what I would put here. But I also want them to use axe, and I'll make that 161. So now they're really good in using both sword and weapons, or sword and axe weapons. Alright, that's the stats tab. Next we're going to talk about the combat stances. These are simple when it comes to realizing what you're doing here. Combat stances, this has to do with supporting and being next to one of another to help support them in a fight. So dual stance and stuff like that. So in dual stance, if they were supporting directly, or if they're right next to the person, this is what stats they give. 10 more HP, crit, avoid, and dodge. Same thing here with these stats. These are pair-ups on this case here. So if they're pairing up with a specific character, they increase the stat depending on what you put in here. So let's say, for example, let's look over at Corrin. Corrin increases your stats down here, gives you a strength and a speed and defense, and then they all stack at the very end once you hit the S tier support. Same thing here with Rinka, where she gives you a point in defense, speed, and strength. And that's just how that works for their increasing stats when you're pairing up with them. Alright. Now, flags. I'm going to open this up a bit more so people can see this. Flags are very simple and they're very self-explanatory. If you read what it says, you know what it does. The only things that you need to specifically know is if they have a name, it means that they have a specific weapon that they are only allowed to wield. So like Leo is Brynhild, Xander is Siegfried, and stuff like that. Forcing stuff means that they don't have to be RNG, so as soon as they attack, they actually will crit, or they'll always hit, or they'll always dodge or avoid, stuff like that. Alright. Support index. So this is specifically for if you're making and creating supports. I'm not going to go over it too much, but if you look at another character for an example, you'll see that Orochi is available in Birthright and Revelations, and this is her unique number. So whenever people look for her and they want to match it, you can look through here. You see that if it's a romantic one, is what type of conversation it is, and you can add, delete, or open new ones. We're not doing anything for tutorial. Alright, so my castle event lines. These are the lines you'll see whenever you interact with these characters. So if they do show up in your castle, this is what they will say. So you'll see like you'll see the extra steps here and everything. Like every time you see something like the fruit, if they're at the fruit thingy, if they're married to you and stuff like that. That's what it is here in these lines. There's also voice lines you can assign. This requires editing sound or knowing how to open the file with the B-Scar and the Citric Composer. You're going to have to know how to use that. There are tutorials that I can link to that include how to listen to the sounds so you can add them. But if you were to go to these characters, for example, you can see it's right here, the format that they have and how these work. We're not going to go over it this tutorial, but that is just the best way to go over that, alright? The only two that I will go over in this tutorial are the retreat and death quotes. And I'm going to go ahead and straight up pull this from my tutorial inside my own tutorial in my Discord. On this side here, if I allow this to focus actually, won't let me, I guess it won't let me do it right now. Alright, anyway. Right here, you can see that there's a specific line that you create. I would recommend to pause in the video to see this better, but basically in this section here, there are specific lines you have to write to get it to go. In the written guide, I'll have everything there. On Game Banana, and the video is just an example. So be sure to go down to that section when you get to the character section. Last but not least is just to check the portraits to see how they all work here. Which there's not really anything specific here for this character because he doesn't have any real portraits, but we're going to show you how to link those real quick when it comes to portraits. Alright? Cool. So that is the character module for the character stuff. So now we're going to take the AID here, copy and paste this. Alright, we're done with the characters. We're going to go to the ROM files. The ROM files are what connect the actual characters and their unique visual designs. Most characters have just simple ones that are just for their head because their class carries the body. Let's say, for example, Valoria. Valoria here has her head and hair model all set together here. So whenever you see her on screen, her head, face, textures, and her hair are all together. It changes whenever she has a wolf class change. So these are conditions. So if she is in the wolf skin class, she has this body model. But if she is in the Segner class, she has this model. We'll go into more specifics later, but if that's what you're looking for when it comes to giving specifics, that is where you're going to look. So, for our case, we're going to make a really quick AID. So as you see at the bottom here, it says item. I'll just make this a little smaller so you can see it. So item right there, okay? When you put AID tutorial, I'm going to move this, and now it's going to be called tutorial. When you know it actually worked if the name changes down here in the bottom left with the AID you put up here. I don't really have anything I want to use specifically for his head or hair, but this is how you're going to connect it. So let's say we want to make him look just like Marth. So I'm going to copy entries from him. Here's his head. So head model, his face textures, and then he has a head size of 0.98, and we use the head. Then we use his hair with his textures, and we change it to the color that Marth has. So now, whenever we go in game and he is in his body, he will be a Paladin Marth head character. Alright? Again, remember, this section is ROM 3, which is unique to the character you're trying to make. That's when you're trying to make the characters. Alright, so for the time being, we're going to continue with the portrait section. We're not going to do a full portrait tutorial on making them, but I'll show you how to get to the portraits. So in this case, portrait tab. I'm going to go ahead and close this and go into the portraits tab. We're going to make a portrait for the character we just did. So in game or in Fates, there are multiple portraits that we can use. In this case, I probably will just go ahead and use Marth. So I'm going to go ahead and go find the portrait from Marth, which can be easily found here. So what you're going to do is navigate to the Faces folder. Then you're going to go to Face. And we're going to look for his arc. By looking for his arc, we're going to type Marth. And there he is. That's his name. We're going to go here, copy paste, and look for these kanjis. Alright? As you can see, there are 3 different kanjis. And 3 different suffixes at the end of the files. CT, ST, and BU. We'll go over them in the portrait tutorial more, but to make it simple and easy to remember, CT means the crit ones, ST means the standard, which is their portrait like this here, and then BU is bust up, which is anywhere up the bust, which is above the bust, and to the head, all the way up. Alright, so simple and easy. We're going to shift click these and Control C to copy paste them. I'm going to go ahead and take them over here, back to my video tutorial folder. Make a new folder, call it Face. Again, we're going to do a new one and call this Face. And the arc files go in here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change these kanjis to just tutorial. The reason is, like I said before, the FID has to match with the portrait. So these kanjis go away, and this is going to be now called tutorial. So they're unique to him, and it won't leak into Marth's portraits. So now we have to make 2 new ones here. 2 new, how do you call it? 2 new profiles for the character. So, at the bottom here, I guess it's easy to kind of just take an entry and copy paste it, which is what I'm going to do here. I usually use Xander as my example. So Xander, I'm going to copy 2, the first one here, and then his next one, the 108, same thing, is bust up. We're going to copy this and make it down here to this one. We're going to change things here. So as FSIDST is going to be called tutorial. And we're just going to change everything to what we need to. So tutorial, in caps. Keep the advantage and disadvantage the same because everybody shares the same emote. And then here at portrait file, we change it to tutorial_st. And that's because we have it right here, tutorial_st. Okay. You can leave these the same on the blush, sweat, everything can be kept the same. No problem there. We're going to do the same thing here. Keep that up there. We call it tutorial. And PID tutorial. Capital tutorial. And his BU, take out the kanjis and call it tutorial_BU. Keep the numbers here again, and if you did it right, it should do this. Now we have the extra Marth portraits on both of these. So now that you did the portraits, that means when you go to characters and you scroll down all the way to tutorials, he will now have Marth's BU. Alright. That should be it for creating a character. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section of the video or in the comment section of the GameBanet tutorial. Or if you have, or you want to be more specific with your question, please be sure to ask me in my Discord. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial, which will be how to make portraits. Bye-bye.